This investigation has been made possible thanks to Chronicling America. The newspaper articles were found in this website. We put the year gap between 1936 and 1938. Then, we wrote keywords about our topic and began reading the articles related to it. After choosing the articles, we downloaded it in PDF and added it into our video. Did you know what happened in Russia during the 30s in the 20th century when it still was the Soviet Union? In this video we will explain what happened in those dark days. To begin with, we will talk about an important figure which the most of us know.
Joseph Vissarionovich Jigashvili.
And you'll say, who's that? They don't even know him at home? Perhaps this name seems more familiar. Joseph Stalin. That's better, right? For those who are still a bit lost, Joseph Stalin was the General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union between 1927 and 1952. He came to power 3 years after the death of Vladimir Lenin, after being in a power struggle against Lev Trotsky, who wanted to spread the revolution beyond the Soviet territory. At the end, he had to leave the country. As opposed to Trotsky, Stalin wanted to consolidate the revolution in the USSR. Thus, he imposed a dictatorship. So, what happened during Stalin's dictatorship? Perhaps this sounds familiar, the Great Purge. No, we're not talking about the movie. It was a horrible event, so horrible that the Russian population called it the Great Terror. But what was it about? Let's find out. This horrific period occurred from 1936 to 1938, but actually we can go back to the beginning of the decade when it slowly started to develop. The Communist Party feared social disorders because of its forced collectivization of the peasants due to its intention to create a centralized planned economy. Marginal and politically suspect population threatened the party because of a possible uprising or war. However, the political purge was Stalin's method to eliminate his enemies from potential opposition groups, including the left led by Trotsky and right wings. In addition, the working class started to attack the privileges of the high-paid elite. Historians are not sure about the causes of this purge, such as his desire to remove dissenters from his party or to consolidate his authority. Sergei Kirov, who was a Soviet politician and a close friend of Stalin, was assassinated in 1934. This incident was used as a pretext to begin the Great Purge.
This article of the Indianapolis Times of December 7 of 1934 is talking about Sergei's death and the trials that prosecute the suspect who faced the death sentence. A feature of the Great Purge was that, for the first time, members of the ruling party were included on a massive scale as victims of the repression, which was very focused by the public attention, as we will see soon in the newspaper articles. Due to the scale of the terror, the victims of the purges were Communist Party members and office holders. The purge of the party was accompanied by the purge of the whole society. An important phenomenon of this period was the Moscow trials. The defendants of these were all Bolshevik party leaders, and top of officials of the Soviet secret police. Most defendants were charged for conspiring with the Western power to assassinate Stalin and restore capitalism. Due to this topic being a bit long, we will only talk about the last trial, the third Moscow trial in March 1938, which was the most famous. The article from the Washington Evening Star, March 5, 1938. Dr. Edmund Walsh claimed that the Moscow trials were another proof of the desperation of the Kremlin. He also added that the Stalin feared revolt among the army and the peasants. Dr. Edmund speaks about the political situation of the USSR, mocking it. In addition, he commented that the former head of the secret police, Yagoda, like Robespierre, had fallen victim to his own terrorism.
Hundreds of thousands of victims were accused of various political crimes, espionage, sabotage, conspiracies to prepare uprisings and coups, etc. They were quickly executed by shooting or sent to the Gulag labor camps. Many died at the penal labor camps of starvation, disease, exposure, and overwork. On November 17, 1938, most of the NKVD, People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs, in other words, the Interior Ministry of the Soviet Union, orders of systematic repression were cancelled and the implementation of death sentences were suspended. To sum up, we will introduce another newspaper article from the Washington Evening Star launched in January 3, 1938. It was written by John D. Whitaker with the next headline, Purge of Stalin Caused by Fear. In the text, he starts talking about an interview done to Stalin 5 years before the Great Purge began to appear in the newspapers. Later, he explains a bit of Joseph's life, his origin, his childhood, and how he became the General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Furthermore, he, mainly with subjectivity, speaks about the Stalin government, comparing him with Lenin and Trotsky. John adds the death of criticism, due to the Soviet population being silenced and killed because of Stalin's dictatorship. Not only that, but he also speaks about the whole situation of the Moscow trials and the Great Purge, how it started with Sergei Kirov's death, the two Moscow trials, not the third as this article was posted in January 1938 and the third Moscow trial occurred in March 1938. Finally, he closes this article speaking about the public opinion, if the purge would last more time or not, and Stalin's statement that he would extend the purge just as long as necessary. The Great Purge is an event with no more than 85 years, so it is not so far away from nowadays. Joseph Stalin died in 1953, and he is still recognized as the second worst genocide of the history. We hope that something like this will not happen ever again, and we thank you so much for watching our video.